Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Do you like to go to the theatre? Well, when you're in London, you have plenty of opportunities to go. There are many theatres with live performances. Sometimes they are a little bit expensive, but as you walk into Leicester Square, there's a little booth, a little cabin selling half-price theatre tickets. There's a few around there, but it's the one called the official half-price theatre ticket booth. It's very nice, and I recommend you use it. Speaking of theatres, though, in the headline news today, theatre workers are fearing for their safety, and they're saying more and more people are attacking them physically and verbally. People these days seem to be looking for a fight. Why would that be? Why do you think that would happen in a theatre? Do you have any ideas? Well, let me try to explain. I've been to the theatre a few times in recent years. So I remember I went to see Mamma Mia and also that theatre production by the Spice Girls. I think it was around maybe 10 years ago. But I noticed that many of the people there were there to get absolutely drunk. It's one of the main attractions of the theatre because you can buy tickets which are inclusive. That means that these tickets, they basically include the price of alcohol, a nice seat. I'm not quite sure how it works, but alcohol features very heavily. You would be very foolish if you think that British people go to the theatre to actually enjoy the performance. We don't. I don't think British people are relaxed enough. I think we are very uptight at most things. And at live performances, many of us would need alcohol just to relax, to be in the place. Part of that is because it's so expensive. So the only way you can justify it is to imagine that it's a good night out. And what's a good night out in the UK if there isn't any alcohol? So, in the news today, theatre workers are saying that they're fearing for their safety because of a deeply disturbing rise in antisocial behaviour from audiences, according to new research. Well, my view of that is if they're going to be serving alcohol, then they should bring in security, of course, and it should be like any other pub in the UK. You should be expected to deal with antisocial people. When I was last at the theatre, it was very clear that people were very, very drunk. There was all kinds of shouting at the stage, waving their hands, and there wasn't really so much of an appreciation for the actual art. A survey involving 1,500 members of theatre union BEC2 members has laid bare how incidents have become more extreme following COVID. Well, my idea of that, my feelings about it, is that this isn't a COVID thing. I think British people have always had a really weird, strange attitude towards alcohol, and many of us are in complete denial that there's even a problem. So if anything, COVID may have revealed that. Apparently, half of the people interviewed who are members of this union, BEC2, have said that they're thinking about leaving the industry as a result, while the union wants to drive urgent change to prevent this wholly unacceptable behaviour. Apparently, these things go from mild physical aggression, threats of violence, sexual harassment or assault to mass brawls and physical assault on staff or other members of the audience, racial slurs, inappropriate use of mobile phones, and vandalism. Yeah, the last time I was there, I didn't feel very safe. I mean, I don't drink alcohol. So if you put me in a room of people who are clearly drinking, then of course I'm going to hear voices getting louder as the wine flows. But part of this is the problem of the theatre. I mean, the theatre is an art. If the only way they can get people in is by giving them alcohol, then maybe they should just let the whole thing die. It's not just this. I think many of our theatres are very, very old, and they're not really equipped for dealing with this kind of thing. You know, our bars and pubs are like very large halls, but theatres, if someone misbehaves, it's harder to get them because they could be sitting in the middle of a row of people which you can't pass because the seats are so narrow. So if you are thinking of going to the theatre, I recommend you try to go to an afternoon sitting because the evening ones, well, it looks like they're becoming more and more just like a night out in a pub. So the theatre industry is trying to brush up and change a little bit. Take away the alcohol. That's what I would do. And I know that British people are known for drinking a lot. It's the same with public transport. You know, in England, public transport is completely okay with alcohol. You can drink on public transport. They even sell it on some of the trains. Whereas in Scotland, currently you can't drink alcohol. If the crime rate goes up because of alcohol-fueled issues, then take away the alcohol. Doesn't that seem the obvious thing? But of course, they would be afraid, wouldn't they? Because if they do that, people might stop using that particular service. I don't know the last time I got on a bus or a train and I didn't find an empty bottle of alcohol. So even though where I am, you're not allowed to drink alcohol on the train, people still do, and everyone's afraid to challenge them, of course, you know? And it's the same with the theatres. If they're serving alcohol, then expect problems. You see, the difficulty here isn't the problem is not the alcohol. The problem is how people use it. Okay, so I don't want to sound like some 19th century preacher. I'm not saying alcohol is bad, but I am saying if you are giving it to people to force them to sit through a live performance that they paid for, that they might not even want to do, then of course you should restrict them from using it and just see how people are without it. I know that in the theatre industry and amongst people who go there, there's this feeling of, oh, a night out at the theatre, it's something different. It's something supposedly artistic. But I tell you, I think I would need a couple of whiskies to get through a live performance because it's dull and boring, especially if you're sitting right at the very back and you can't see anything, you know. So I can kind of see why alcohol is needed there to get people in. It's a kind of aristocratic thing as well, you know. Fill yourself with wine and enjoy an expensive night out. It's a way of expressing your status and your class because the rest of us don't have money to be doing that. Okay, that's it from me about theatre, so I'll stop there. And I wish you all a very good day. See you. Bye.